Hey guys, it's Steph here again today, and Happy New Year, everyone. It is January 1st, where I'm at, and where this video is being done right now. So I thought that today is a good time to reflect on my reading year from last year and kind of let you guys know some of my reading goals for 2022. So I have everything wrote down in this little book here, and I have some graphs to show you. As well. So let's just jump right into it because I have a lot to go over. So I read 90 out of 75 books this year. So my reading goal was 75. I read a total of 90. I actually got my 90th book finished literally on like the 31st. I read 23,534 pages this year. My shortest book I read was Hurried, Worried, and Buried, which is like a self-help book. My longest book read was Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. My average length of pages read per book is 261 pages, so that's kind of a pretty good amount of pages, I think, but I do typically lean towards shorter books. My most popular book that I read was Animal Farm. It had like over 1 million like shelved. And then my least popular book was No Safe Space. It was a memoir written by a little black boy growing up gay in his community. And there was actually only one other person that had this shelved, so it's really good. I loved it. I love reading kind of like indie writers and things, so it was really good. My average rating for books this year was a 4.3. I usually rate books either a 4 or a 5. I've not really read many that are kind of below that. There are a few, but very few. My highest rated book was Transformation by Chad Dingus. It was rated 5 stars. It's still rated 5 stars. It is actually a book about an up-and-coming church and how to build a church from the ground up. It was written by my original pastor's pastor, so that's kind of the only reason why I read it. It is a good book, but it is kind of monotonous, but it's still pretty good. My first book that I rated this year was Snatched by Karen Slaughter, which I ended up reading for Winterween. But the problem with that is I didn't realize it was part of a series, so it was kind of disappointing because I didn't understand what was going on because I didn't know who the characters were prior to this book. And my last book that I rated was The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell, which is such an amazing author. I'm starting to really like some of her stuff, so I'll probably read more of her in the new year. So I have this graph. I'll put it up right now. This is books per month. So let me grab my list here. I read 7 books in January, 5 books in February, 10 books in March, 6 books in April, 8 books in May, 11 books in June, 9 books in July. I did not read anything in August. I read 2 books in September, 6 books in October, because that's when my grandfather and my grandmother passed away, so there wasn't really a lot of time to do much of anything other than take care of her. I read 10 books in November and 16 books in December. So December was my best reading month, which is usually the opposite. I usually have a really terrible reading month in December. So that was kind of a surprise to me. The types of books I read, I have a graph for that as well, I'll pop it up here, is physical versus ebook versus audiobook. So I read 24 physical books, 10 ebooks, and 56 audiobooks. So it's very easy for me to read audiobooks or listen to audiobooks, and because you can read many more of them because you can put it on like 2 times or 2.5 times speed. It's not as hard as you think. I don't lose track of what I'm reading. I can understand what I'm reading. So it's really good for me because I can listen to it at work while I'm doing the mail or while I'm just doing a spreadsheet or something. It also helps me concentrate when I'm doing things, and I listen to audiobooks in the car when I am delivering food for DoorDash. And I read 4 ARC books from NetGalley this year. I should throw that in there because it's not on any of my graphs. So the next graph I have is the genres that I read. So I read 20 nonfiction / self-help books. I read 13 horror, 22 thriller books, 8 LGBTQA plus books. And what that means is that they're either memoirs by someone who is part of the community, or they are written for the community, things like that. I read 5 sci-fi books, 6 romance books, 4 historical fiction books, 10 religious books, and 2 poetry collection / anthology collections. Authors, male versus female or non-binary. I just started doing this list last year, so I thought I would include it this year as well. I typically lean toward female writers, but I did read quite a few male authors this year, which I was pretty surprised about. Other than Stephen King, I read him every year. But anyway, so I read 26 books by males, or I read 26 male authors. I read 41 male authors, or female authors, and 6 binary or NA, like anonymous, because it doesn't tell you who wrote it. It's like anonymous book, like Go Ask Alice and things like that. So yeah, 26 male, 41 females, and 6 non-binary. And that is pretty much all of my stats for the year. So I had some goals for the beginning of the year. One of my goals was to read more classics, and one of my goals was to read a book of the month pick every month. I did not surpass either of those challenges for myself this year. This year was kind of a rough year for me. But I did read a few classics, but not as many as I did. I actually have a list of 25 classics that I want to read every year. And I never get to that list, or never get through that whole list. So it is what it is. You know, I did my best. I read 90 books, which is pretty good, I think. Yeah, so my goals. What are my goals for 2022? My goal for 2022 is 100 books. So my original goal this year was 50, then I upped it to 75, and then I ended up reading 90 books. So I think if I stay on the same path that I was on last year, and I'm actually doing a book club with some girls from work right now, as well as the book club, the book troop from Gabby Reads, I think that I could hit 100 books this year. So that is my reading goal for 2022, is 100 books. Another goal I have is to read one of my book of the month picks every month that I pick it. So that is another one of my goals I'm going to really try to stick to. I also would like to read at least one self-help book a month. Obviously, I'm going to read more than that because I love reading like religious self-help books, or self-help books about how to detox your life and things like that. So, yeah. So those are my reading goals for the year of 2022. So I also would like to just go ahead and throw in my January TBR as of right now. Now, if Winterween or anything like that comes around, or any kind of book challenge, I will probably do that. But as of right now, this back here is my reading goals, or my reading TBR for January. So let's go ahead and go through them. Now, there's actually 3 books that are not listed because I do not have them. 2 of them are my book of the month picks because it's my birth month, so I got to pick a add-on for free. So I'm going to be reading Fiona and Jane, I think it is, and Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Also, our book club at work, we are reading The Hating Game. So that's going to be on my list as well. So here goes my TBR for January. My first, I want to read A Little Hope by Ethan Joella. Don't know. This is one of my book of the month picks from last month. And then I also want to read The Collective because I just really heard great things about it. I want to read The Patient by Jasper DeWitt. I've been wanting to read this. I started listening to this audiobook, but I ended up not reading it and getting kind of tired of listening to it. So I'm going to try to actually read it. I want to read The Push by Ashley Audrain. I heard a lot of great things by Gabby Reads for last year. So typically her likes are my likes, so I'm hoping that I like this book, but I want to read this. Now comes some self-help books that I want to read. Obviously, I don't remember what the pick is for the January book troop pick, but I'm going to be reading that as well, just so you know. So I'm going to be reading Get Out of Your Head. This is actually the first book I'm going to read in 2022. It's Get Out of Your Own Head by Jeannie Allen. It's Stopping the Spiral of Toxic Thoughts, and it comes with a companion workbook. So I'm going to be doing this. This is my first read for 2022. Next up, I'm going to read Do It For a Day by Mark Batterson. It's how to make or break any habit in 30 days. So I'm going to try to read one chapter each day for 30 days. That is my goal for this book. So this is going to be like an ongoing January book. Next up, I'm going to be reading Atomic Habits, which I heard a lot of great things about. It's an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. So obviously you can see that these two books kind of go together. So I'm going to be reading this book. And then last but not least, I'm going to be reading The Last House on Needless Street by Katarina Ward. This was one of the book trip book picks of the month. I don't remember what month, but I did not get a chance to read it because I couldn't find it at the library. It was checked out and I didn't feel like buying it, but I did end up buying it during the half off hardback cover sale at Barnes & Noble. So yeah, so that is my TBR for January, as well as my 2021 reading stats and 2022 reading goals. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys liked the graphs. I know they weren't like the greatest made graphs, but I thought that it would be cool to see it physically, like what it looks like. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed 2022. Bye!